We NASCAR fans really care about our broadcasts and broadcasters at that as well. And now the last big puzzle piece of the 2025 season when it comes to broadcasting has been put in place. We got the start times, we got the channels, and now both TNT with Warner Brothers as well as Prime have announced their joint booth. Adam Alexander, the lead commentator, Steve Letarte, a color commentator as a crew chief, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., the driver commentator that we all knew was going to be here, but now that it's completely ironed in, I think we can all take a nice big breath of relief. And I'm going to say this, as my instant reaction to all this, I like this booth. I like it a lot. And a lot of it, I think, is my personal preference. Of course, many of you will know I am a Dale Earnhardt Jr. fan. So Jr. in general is going to be endearing to me. But at the same time, he is a really good driver commentator, and he's had a lot of energy brought into the booth, and that's something that Prime and TNT need to have from the beginning. A lot of different broadcasters outside of maybe Fox Sports in 2001 struggle with getting their commentators to have the right chemistry, the right gelling, and the right energy. But all three of these guys have a ton of experience, and I like that. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is popular with a lot of the fan base, and that is not only with his driving, but again with his commentating, so I'm happy with that. Adam Alexander, I have been in Adam Alexander's corner for about a decade now. I know a lot of people don't like him. I know they might think that his voice doesn't fit the same type of kind of post that a Mike Joy, that a Rick Allen, that an Alan Bestwick have, but I do think that the problem with Adam Alexander has not been Adam Alexander, it's been his surroundings. When you look at what he's had to deal with at Fox Sports, he has basically been paired up with a bunch of inexperienced drivers in the Xfinity Series and had to adapt every week to each one of them. Some very good, like Kevin Harvick back in the day, and I'd even argue Joey Logano. Some not as good, like Austin Cindric and Ryan Blaney. So you have now some consistency for 10 straight races, and you have the storylines of the in-season tournament, the buildup of that, and you really don't have to have the pressure of the start of the season or looking at the playoffs. This is a perfect role for Adam Alexander, and I think he is going to thrive with it. And Steve Letarte, while maybe being the weak part of the booth for me personally, I do think he has improved this year a ton. Over the last couple of years with Dale Earnhardt Jr., it kind of felt like Jeff Burton and Steve Letarte would kind of mail it in. And with that, Steve Letarte would give some good analysis, but it was more in line with going with whatever Dale said. And they might be falling into that again, but I do think that this past year, with having Jeff Burton and of course Lee Diffie being very good next to him, Steve Letarte had to up his game a bit. And personally, I think he did. When he is talking about the crew chief side of things, talking about the ins and outs of the cars, he was amazing, and I loved that. So personally, I give this a solid A. And again, for anyone from either Prime or Warner Brothers that's watching this, you knocked it out of the park, and I think you did your research well. Now, I do have some other questions, because I think some other options or different places are starting to be up in the air a little bit, starting with NBC Sports. Yep, you're going to have Lee Diffie. I'm almost certain you will. And I think that's a great commentator to have. And Jeff Burton probably will stay as well. The issue? You've lost Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Steve Letarte in consecutive seasons. You're going to have a bit of a different identity moving forward. And you're going to have to get a good crew chief, whether that is a crew chief that's recently retired and maybe has more knowledge, or somebody with a lot of charisma. Now, I would really like Larry Mack personally. I do think that he would fit well with the high energy of Lee Diffie and Jeff Burton, but I don't know what the Fox Sports contract looks like, so that's just me wishfully thinking. I think this is the next shoe to drop when it comes to the Cup side of things. I think Fox is going to stay the same, and the big question, I think, too, is a former NBC employee now, Rick Allen. What's Rick Allen going to do? Because he kind of alluded to maybe giving up broadcasting and play-by-play calling, but it was very vague, so it could have just been a goodbye to NBC Sports, if not anything else. The CW's open. Xfinity is going to be having its entire season on the CW, and being the lead announcer of an entire series might be a pretty good thing to put on the resume if you want to move past racing at some point. Rick Allen's pretty young for a commentator, so I could see him maybe doing something like this. I don't know, though, because I think at some point, you're going to have to infuse some new life. And to their credit, as much as it didn't work, Fox Sports did try this over the last few years with Jamie Little in the trucks. And unfortunately, with Adam Alexander gone, I have a feeling that Jamie Little is probably going to be the lead truck commentator. She's great on pit road. I want no disrespect sent to Jamie Little in general about her talent in this sport. I just don't think she's cut out to be a play-by-play commentator and has made so many gaffes and bad errors. They need to have somebody better. Maybe Rick Allen comes back for the truck side of it and we have a brand new booth and everything talent-wise in general with the CW, because that is being produced by NASCAR. It also means we could just have a lot of people from NASCAR maybe on their YouTube channel that would make up a lot of the broadcast, but we don't know. I would actually like to push out a new option, or at least a newer option when it comes to NASCAR, and that's Eric Brennan. Eric Brennan was one of the Cars Tours guy, and I think still is, if I'm not mistaken, and is very, very talented. And a lot of people might be asking who that is, to which I will say, do you remember the ARCA race at Iowa earlier this year when Twitter and YouTube and everyone was talking about this guy just who came out of nowhere? No one knew really who he was, and all of a sudden he comes into the booth for one race and he kicks ass? That was Eric Brennan. I want to push him to be somebody in the top 3 series, whether the lead commentator of the Xfinity series, maybe the lead commentator for Fox in trucks, or in general, maybe moving up to one of the Cup booths one day. After all, I mean, you got to think about it. Mike Joy is not going to be there forever. Do we really want Jamie Little to be commentating the Daytona 500, stuttering and stammering over our words? I'm just saying, we need new blood at some point. We have not really had new broadcasters take over in any way that haven't been part of a previous NASCAR broadcast in over 20 years. And it is going to get stale. It's going to get old. And while Lee Diffie, I think, is the first one to do that since, I think we need more. I do want to give a shout out to my buddy, John Ramos. We're doing an event this week on his channel, and he does a lot of commentary and different play-by-play at different tracks. Not maybe in the near future, but I think at some point he should get consideration as well. And you might even see some of the younger guys from the radio side come over there and be in the booth in one of the top 3 series. That's what happened with a lot of these guys that moved to the TV side. So I'm actually really looking forward to the future of NASCAR broadcasting. I like 2025 in general with the lineups that they have. I'm interested what NBC will do. And I do think that fans can, I think, take a sigh of relief. It's not maybe going to be the best ever to start out with, but I think that these teams can gel really well. So that's my thoughts on it all. Let me know what you want down below. All right, leave a like on this video. Share this video and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much, all my channel members, for your continued support. And be sure this Wednesday to check out. I'm going to be live streaming. We're just going to have fun and try and create the best possible NASCAR schedule we can ever do. So if you want to join me then, be sure to. If not, I'll see you next time. So until then, have a good one.